Good evening. We'll call this meeting to order at 6:01, the April 1st, 2026 Dune City Council meeting. First order of business is roll call. Susan Snow is excused, and everyone else is here and accounted for. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Item 4 is consideration of the agenda. There are two slightly different versions. There was one that was originally published and then it was revised. The public hearing is a public hearing item. It's also old business, so they're substantially the same. It was just the title and those items. And does anybody else have anything else?
I'd like to see if we couldn't add this to the agenda. There was some discussion.
Let's bring it as a good of the order.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that. Anything else?
There's no
Agenda-wise?
number 7.
And there is no number
I
7
couldn't count.
on purpose. It's April Fool's. So we're already partway done. If there's no other changes, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Anybody want a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. That was Chris and Larry second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. Item 5, announcements or correspondence.
Just that we're still working with Oregon Water Services or Water Department on the permit amendments. The person that's helping us with that, basically, she's too busy and needs more time. So we're kind of stalled until she can
Okay.
help us.
All right. Thank you. Item 6, citizen input. This is a public comment period. Let's see, each person has 3 minutes to speak. We'll take input into consideration. However, in observance of Oregon open meeting law, this isn't the time for dialogue, but rather the time for us to listen. Anything you bring up may be put on a future agenda, but these are not for action tonight, so we won't necessarily respond. And with that, I have Rapunzel. You had comments during citizens' concerns or during the public hearing?
No, citizen concerns.
Okay, please, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify a comment that was made at the last meeting regarding DSL and boathouses. DSL does not prohibit boathouses generally, only in certain areas.
Okay,
So we had said that they do and they don't.
thank you for the clarification. And Jeannie, your comment is about the last meeting. Is that just a regular
Yeah,
concern,
I
or do you want to bring it
well,
up during public hearing?
I get confused as to when we are allowed to speak and aren't, because it changes a lot. It used to be first thing before anyone spoke.
Okay, hang on a
then it
second.
became last thing.
So, are you,
I'd like to be able to have a few minutes to respond to what you're talking about, and, Geneva has some things to say. If I need to talk before I can respond to anything you're talking about, that makes it hard for me, because I would like to participate in this meeting too, and I thought it's a public meeting where you're welcome.
okay, so,
So if I could talk a little later, that would be good.
yes, because the real item tonight is the land use ordinance, and yeah, we will take additional public comment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would like to contribute when that comes.
Okay. Anyone else that I don't have a yellow card for that wants to speak on something that's not on the agenda?
I have a hand raised from Jonathan Anderson.
Okay,
I apologize. You finished your statement, and all I have to say is stuff on chapter 155, so I'll speak up when it's the right time.
thank you. All right, that's all we have online. Anybody else? Seeing last call? All right, we'll go on to new business. Item 8 is the Dune City Hall roof estimate for possible action. So we got 2 estimates,
3.
3 estimates, and your recommendation is?
Kenyon, we're trying to do the roof and some of the siding, we have some dry rot around the
Okay.
building. One of those they do not do,
Deciding?
yeah,
Okay.
so 2 of them do and 1 does not.
Okay, and you recommend award to Kenyon
Yes,
for, is that the third?
33,438.34.
Okay,
Yes.
33,000.
It's the mid one.
All right, any discussion?
I just wondered, did we talk to any of their past customers for references?
we did not.
Okay.
Are they licensed in Dune City?
They are,
Okay.
For the record.
yes, they are.
All right. Very good. Any other questions or comments?
Well, my comment would be, I wouldn't let a contract out without talking to some people who actually had work done. Generally speaking, I mean, I like the idea of getting multiple bids, but I don't like shooting in the blind, so I think we should at least ask for a list of customers. Obviously, they can cherry pick who those customers are, but,
Yeah,
you know, unless we can talk to somebody, I mean, unfortunately, roofing is an area where there's a lot of fraud. You know, particularly senior citizens have been victimized by people who come in and do a slapdash project, and, you know, there's a discussion about, what kind of shingles and tar paper and that sort of thing, that, you know, it'd be a good idea to at least find out. I mean, I was just quickly, I went online, Googled them, and at least on Google Maps, their reviews are quite good. But generally speaking, these are all very good reviews. They're all 5-star reviews, and they're all pretty recent for the most part. So, I mean, there's probably no issue here, but I think part of our bidding process should be calling and talking to at least 2 or 3 customers to get a perspective.
okay. Well, we have 3 bids in front of us, so could I motion to award to Canyon on the condition you call a couple of references? If everything checks out, then we proceed, and if we don't, we'll report back to the
I
council.
make the motion to go to Kenyon Construction as they're the local company. I'd
Okay.
like to keep it local.
And you okay verifying a couple of references before we proceed?
I'm okay with no, I mean, it's a local company, it's reputable, Business Bureau. I looked at the Better Business Bureau, they're there,
Okay,
so I don't necessarily need references.
okay.
I saw their reviews online and I was fine with them.
All right. We have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion, or? You okay with that? Just
Not
proceeding,
really.
or?
I think as a general practice, as a city, we should be getting references on anything we do. We hire an attorney, we hire a contractor, if we are having work done,
Yeah,
where we're spending public funds.
yeah.
It's a little bit more due diligence. I have no problem with a resolution approving the bid and having the city manager check a few references.
Okay, well, let's amend the motion to include check and reference. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And in this case, you brought up 2 different examples that the statutes are different. So for construction, we get bids, from qualified bidders. And part of that could be before you make a recommendation to check on a reference. And then a professional service, we have a different process. You can just go interview people and say, I like this one, that's the most qualified. You don't ask for a little bit, you ask for the best fit. So, and this one, and dollar-wise, it doesn't rise to the level of a public works project where we have to do something formal, but we did advertise online and get 3 bids. So, Thanks for those comments. Back to. Okay, that takes us to item 9, chapter 155, land use code continued. Is Henry on the line now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I've got some stuff I need to read. We have another script. We'll go back in, we'll reopen the public hearing. We've got a number of council members that haven't had a chance to comment, and then we'll take more public comment. And then if we get through all that, we'll close the public hearing, and then we can deliberate on the exact direction you want to take. And this can be continued again if we run out of time, so this isn't a rush, this is just the steps to go through. So, this is Land Use File PAPA 25-01. It is a Type 4 legislative amendment to Chapter 155 of the Dune City Development Code. If approved, the amendments will be adopted via Ordinance 275. The Planning Commission recommended approval and adoption of the amendments with revisions as noted. The City Council is reconvening the public hearing tonight to continue the hearing from March 18th council meeting. The hearing is now open, and oral and written comments will be accepted. We have 2 letters that were received that are on your counter here or in the backup. We also have, I believe, comments Melissa submitted that are in the backup. Comments from Larry, which were substantially what he had talked about in the meeting, typed up, are in there. And then you have a summary, there's a memo from Lila that is more or less a summary of those items. And what am I missing?
We have one more letter that came in.
Oh,
That's
I got
just on
it.
the dais.
You have a letter on the counter here from Geneva, right?
Yes.
Geneva Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, so that is not in the backup because it was received later, but it is on the counter. And at the last city council meeting, we had gotten Larry's comments. Mine were submitted earlier, and then Melissa had, we started the discussion when we ran out of time, and then you submitted. So I'll start with Melissa, if you're ready.
I
because-
don't want to go first.
Okay, because you had comments, and there's some answers in there that I think answer
Yeah.
some of your questions and comments too. Want to go to Duke?
Mine are, I've read through all of the comments here. I did finally make it through all 279
All right,
pages. And in that 279 pages, as we all know, there's hundreds of sections in there.
yeah.
And kind of, I had to think about this a while, but it just kind of goes back to my original feelings on Dune City property and property ownership. That being said, there was only one thing in here that I didn't like, that I didn't think fit Dune City at all. There were several others that are in there that I don't 100% agree with, but I think that through a variance, you can work with them on individual basis as they come around. The one that I didn't like, and I didn't think fit Dune City, was on page 119, and it was the solar setback requirements. I don't like anything about that one, that if it was up to me, it would be completely stricken from the ordinance. The reason is, we live in a very wooded area in Dune City, and if you're gonna put restrictions on me or my neighbor, I've lived in my house for 45 years. I used to be able to grow a garden. I can't grow a garden anymore because the trees have grown for 45 years. But it's not my neighbor, the trees are blocking my son or my neighbors. That's not their problem. I don't think they should have to make their trees lower for my garden. I feel the same way about if somebody in Dune City puts up a solar panel, my trees, you know, I shouldn't have to be responsible for the arc of the sun
Right.
and making sure that they have solar access. I just don't think it fits Dune City again because we're so wooded and so heavily wooded. And like I said, if it was up to me,
I've
that would be
participated in a few solar projects, and I would be shocked if one ever penciled in Dune City. I did them in the sunniest spot in the continental United States, and they only penciled if you had subsidies. You know, if you had government money or, and so, anyway. Can I ask a question of you, Rapunzel?
Yeah.
The solar, is that a dictate from the state, or that was just something that came up that, are we obligated to have a chapter on solar?
No,
I know this got real popular a few years ago, and there were probably a lot of ordinances flying around, like every city should adopt one because it's the wave of the future, but I think the number of hours you could generate, you know, serious solar energy or, you know, electricity from solar are kind of limited. So I'm with you, Duke. That was my comment to the planning commission, was like, this is a whole chapter that's got restrictions on blocking sunshine in the woods.
No, like I said, most of the things that I've read here, it seems like maybe we can work on them on an individual basis they come up.
Yeah, it
Even
would-
with a variance, if you
If
have
we
a
took the
developer.
chapter out, you wouldn't need a variance, you'd just be putting them on your roof at your own risk.
Yeah, well, yeah, on that you would, but if, you know, say a lot line adjustment or whatever the case may be in some of the property issues that are in here. The other thing is, on the other side of that is if a builder or a homeowner or a contractor is doing something wrong and we get a complaint, we can always put a stop work order on it.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's going back to me, the individual use, as it comes up, you know, based on that, the incredible amount of information in here.
Yeah.
And I think that a council or back to planning commission or anything, you could take this thing apart and start on page 1 and talk on this thing for years.
We have.
You know, yeah, well, we have, that's right.
Right.
And here we still are, just like we're just starting out.
It's a heavy lift.
And, you know, at some point, and I'm not trying to hurry this or rush it, I just think if we can deal with these things as they come up at council on individual basis, you know, that's what I think. Even if you wanted to keep the solar in there, you could deal with that on an individual basis.
Yeah.
That was just my personal one on this.
Yeah, one of the special challenges for this chapter is land use is heavily regulated in Oregon.
Yeah, it is.
And so to make any change to land use required the postcards, you know, the planning commission action and a recommendation, and then the postcard and the posting, and it becomes a much longer, more expensive process. Any other ordinance, like the nuisance ordinance, if you say, hey, we missed some, let's just reintroduce it, you know, council can make a revision. This
Right.
one would require those extra steps. So, yeah, it's a big lift to get through all of it, but we're partway there. I mean, we're making real progress, so I appreciate the comment.
And I read through the other counselors' concerns, and, you know, they're not out of line at all. They would be addressed for sure.
Yeah.
You know, that was just my take on it. I was just trying to box it in and make it simpler for me of how I would deal with this, you know, in years coming. And the only other thing, talking with people, there was a concern on building and upcoming developments. It goes back to my core belief, citizens' right, property rights.
Mhm.
If you buy a lot that's in the available buildable lands in Dune City, you have a right to build on that as long as you're meeting all the requirements to do that. The only thing I can say, and it's happened to me, I mean, my kids, I grew up with a lot right across from me, there's a house sitting there now. If I'd wanted that lot to stay the same, I should have bought it.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's true with anybody in Dune City. If there's a patch of trees and it's in buildable land, I think you might want to think about investing in buying it, because I'm not a protectionist. I believe in building correctly, but if it's in buildable lands and somebody wants to build a home on it, I'm going to give my approval for that. So that's about it.
Okay, thank you. And Rich, did we get all your comments, or? No. You got more comments, okay. And specific to ordinary high water,
I don't know that we've got the time to sit here and go through all the comments that I would like to address. I mean, I think we'd be quite some time.
how else we gonna do it?
You know, I think there's some severe limitations to construction and how this limits the way that you can build on your property. Some of the things that it depicts in here that you can and cannot do. I mean, some of it's like, I mean, there's a couple comments in here, and I don't remember exactly what it is, where basically the city's left stating, we're not gonna allow you to do this. And the city's the final word, and then it doesn't allow you to go to the state and appeal to the state, which I don't think we should allow that, because if the city is wrong, then you should have the right to appeal to the state. No, not according to this.
Yeah, you can always appeal.
No, it says right in here.
You can't, when it says this unappealable, it's here.
No, it says you can't even appeal to the state.
I think the interpretation that comes across leads it to me to
There's,
believe.
there's like three sections in here that says that. And I
I think
mean,
there's a lot of clarity, and I think he's hitting on one of them. There needs to be some wording change for open for clarity.
Okay.
I really think that we need to sit down as a council and do like we've done some of the others, and I know it's time consuming, but, you know, really go through.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. I mean, just like we did with
Short-term rentals,
the short-term rentals, and just go through it page by page and make sure that we get it done right the first time. Or, well, it's not the first time, but get it right for where it's at right now. That's just my comments on it for the time being.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, it's a beast. We all know that. I was able to attend, Rich, some of the planning sessions where they went through it, and my biggest concerns have been addressed, but there's a lot in there. And I don't,
Yeah.
so, to your point of, this takes a lot of effort to change, as
Yeah.
opposed to like the nuisance ordinance, right?
Right.
So, is it something that we should implement and then work from a clean version going forward? Or should we wait until it's perfect and try to pass it? Because there's
That's
an
the
argument
reality.
for like, hey, this thing has so many decades of work in it.
Right.
Like, we need to put it into practice and then go back and work from a clean slate. Because
Yeah, every ordinance is a living ordinance, right? This one's a couple extra steps to change, but I think if we wait for perfection, I think we're kicking the can down the road.
Right.
We've gotten further in the last couple of meetings than the council. I mean, this has been with the planning commission for a long time and hasn't gotten this thorough a review by the city
It came to the
council.
council, we had very similar discussions, not us, but the council had very similar discussions. They kicked it back to the planning committee
Right.
for another review, and it's
Right.
back with us again.
And
So like,
that was over 2 years
yeah,
back to the
I
planning.
think there is so much history that we kind of need to, I would like to just put it into practice with what we have, knowing it's not perfect,
And then
And
go back
then
and look for
start
flaws.
over again.
I agree, because there's so much being deleted, it's hard to figure out what the finished product looks like
Like,
with all this back and forth, because we've got comments on top of comments, and we've had things changed in and changed out and changed back in and
Right.
changed out, and so trying to track comments, it's,
yeah.
some of them are beasts.
I accept it's not perfect,
Yeah.
and not everyone's gonna be happy with it, but unless there are some just insurmountable issues, I would move forward.
Okay. And one of the comments, Rich, there's a lot of comments on stuff that's being deleted, because it's hard to follow.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Jack brought up some good comments, but some of what was brought up was, some of that was being taken out. And it's hard to follow, and until you get a clean, like, there's what the ordinance says. I mean, this has been in place for over 20 years, and it hasn't stopped home construction. Yes, it may have made some steps more difficult in some cases. Government always does. I get it. I worked for the government for a long time. But I'm with you. I think this makes it way better. It's not perfect, but it's way better. And it removes some things, and I think there's some things that were brought up that need to exist probably in other places. You know, and you brought up.
I would agree that some of this
we need some
Some of
clarity.
this needs to not be in here, it needs to
It could
be
go
in
in
the standards.
other standards, right? And they're easier to change,
Yeah,
right? So,
but, and that's, I guess that's why I'm saying, why would we go ahead and adopt something that if we just take maybe another couple meetings and really get it defined?
no, that's fine. That's why we're
That's
here.
what I'm saying.
I'm not saying one way's right or the other, I'm saying like there's an argument for both.
Yeah,
Because
I agree.
we've said, well, let's just get it right. And it's been, years of trying to get it right. And like, is that really ever gonna happen?
Well, it'll be perfect.
I know it won't be
better.
perfect, but like, if we can honestly get it to a usable state in a couple meetings, then I'm okay with that. But if this is another year-long effort, then like, we gotta just move forward with what we have.
I would agree with
Yeah.
that. I don't disagree.
Okay.
I agree with what Chris is saying too. It's not perfect, I don't think it's ever gonna be perfect.
Right.
That's never gonna satisfy.
Well, yeah, you can't make everybody happy all the
No,
time.
you're gonna have two basic ideologies going on here. People are gonna build on buildable lands, and people that don't want any more.
Well, and there's, right, two styles of government, right? Regulate everything because there's a 1 in a million chance that something happens,
Yeah.
so regulate it. And the other is get out of my business, I own a piece of property, gonna build a house here. And we wanna make sure you meet building code and you don't get flooded and, you don't harm anybody else with your drainage and stuff. But, yeah, I'm fine without a solar chapter. There's a couple of those that,
I have a question. This meeting, the format that we're doing right now,
Yep.
is it against the rules to have a work session, just the council to go over this stuff so we can go through?
that's what we're in. I mean, you can.
Well, yeah, I
We
mean.
can keep doing that for the next 3 meetings, yeah, we're in the middle of the public hearing, and then we will take public comments about all the stuff we talked
All
about.
right.
But yeah, we can get there, I mean, if you wanna go line by line, go line by line.
I say we just like I've done here, okay, let's go through and hit, all right, I've got one on page, and I'm just giving an example here, page 21. And like we did before, and if it coincides with what everybody
Yeah.
else has, we've got that one done.
Sure.
And then if somebody else has got one before that, we need to hit that.
Kind of like what we've done, go through,
Yeah.
list our ones and go through those agreements.
Yep.
Yeah, we can do that.
Can I make a comment really quick?
Mhm.
So I have Henry's online.
Yeah.
But he said, at least with respect to land use, any land use decisions are appealable to LUBA.
That's what I
That's
thought.
what we were talking about.
First step's LUBA, and even that, you can always go to court. Anybody with $50 in a typewriter can sue you, so. I don't know if it's $75 now, but that was the rule of thumb. So, yeah, and a lot of that, when you have that language, it's the planning commission's final action, or is it city council, and then it says it's not appealable. That's for us, because you can always go to LUBA if it's land use, you can always go to district court if you feel wrong on whatever it is. If you feel like ours violates the state constitution or something like that, there's always a legal remedy. All the way to
But all
Supreme
I'm
Court.
saying is where it states those things back in here, I think we need to possibly reword how that's worded. Because it basically states that the city's the final and doesn't give you the
It is.
option.
The city council is the final in Dune City.
Yeah.
So this is a Dune City ordinance, this isn't a state, it's not state law, it's not Lane County. So it's probably technically correct and potentially misunderstood, but,
Possible.
yeah. So,
But
I
we do
mean,
need to lay it out to where it can be understood.
I disagree, this is hard stuff and some of it's
It is,
dictated by
but we have
law.
to lay it out, we have to put it in terms of clarity.
Yeah.
When people read it, they're not automatically gonna go off and we're going to create an issue within our county.
Yeah, and remember, since the city was incorporated, we've had similar language.
Absolutely, but the more that we make it easier for people to read,
And
it's going
sometimes
to
you
be
gotta
better.
come in and ask questions, because it's not always.
Understand, but we do need to fix our citizens too.
Yeah. So,
So my thought is, I want to thank Duke, because I'm sorry, I read that solar chapter and it went, boom! It didn't occur to me what you were suggesting,
Yes.
Duke. I mean, I'd like to see the whole chapter put in the trash.
right, you basically become a solar easement, and you
Yeah.
can't block up a panel.
Yeah, but I mean, the reality is, it's the conversation between us that helps us
Yes.
understand, and, oh, what about this?
Right.
And that's why I think there'd be some value in just setting aside some subsequent meetings.
This
and
is
doing-
it.
I mean, I've gone through it, I think everybody's gone through it, Rich has got all of his tabs, I've got my notes.
Yeah.
But there will be things that haven't occurred to me, like the
Right.
solar that Duke just brought up, that I think we could get this right I worry that if we just pass it tonight and say we're gonna come back and revisit it, we're never gonna get around to that. We've got something else on our plate, the next meeting. the
I have a
next
list.
meeting, the next meeting. I know, we have a lot of things, but I'd like to get it done right. And the other thing that concerns me is that I've read a lot of the letters that people have sent in. And they have some, what I consider to be legitimate concerns. And those concerns are in two ways. One, that we are making a mistake on a particular part of the code, but the other comment is how we are governing, how we are managing the process with our citizens and bringing something forward that some feel is a threat to their property rights or the way things should be done. So I want to make sure that there's clarity about some of the concerns that people have brought up. I want to make sure that this new ordinance complies with our comprehensive plan. I have not read the comp plan. Has anybody read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did a lot of referral back to our charter and our comprehensive plan when reviewing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a copy
Well-
of it, so I'd like to review the comprehensive
And
plan.
that is one of the things that also needs to be refreshed from time to time, right?
Sure.
It's not a static,
Right.
there's growth, things change, so it may not agree 100%, and the comp plan governs according to state law, if I understand that correctly. So yeah, when we discover those, it shouldn't stop this. It should be put what you think the right thing is in, and then go revisit the comprehensive plan and go,
Right.
is that, because the city council sets those
Yeah, is the comp
goals.
plan done by ordinance or not?
It's another, comprehensive plan revision is similar to this, right?
Yes,
The bundle, yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a,
Yeah.
it's even more complicated,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, well, I've read other cities' comprehensive plans, so I understand what kind of a beast it is.
Yeah.
But I went through, just like Rich and everybody else has gone through, I've got all these little things here. The things that I had in here were really fairly minor, with the exception of two issues. One is the preservation of vegetation, you know,
Yeah.
and also, I'd like to see us not use the high water line. I'd like to see-
okay,
I'd
let's
like
talk
to see-
about both those real quick.
I understand, let me finish
Okay.
that. I see this is on our desk here, so this is ordinance number 154. Is this currently in place?
Yes,
No,
Is it? It's not.
154.
yeah, 154 is,
chapter 154 is currently in place,
yeah.
okay? That's,
Is chapter 154 the same as ordinance 154?
no. Ordinance 154 was the basic language codified in chapter 154. The numbers are a little confusing. Chapter 154 has been amended 2 or 3 times, so some of the language that's in your ordinance 154 no longer actually exists in the municipal code.
Okay, so that would be something that I would want to visit.
That's on, yes, that's on my list to follow up.
Right.
And to your point about the vegetation,
Mhm,
we went back and looked at the current ordinance, the land use,
mhm.
and where the tree canopy, we found tree canopy in 3 places, right? PUDs, with planned unit development, you know, master plan subdivision type of situation.
Conditional use permits,
A conditional use permit and a,
property line adjustment.
yeah, and a property line adjustment. None of those are for a permit.
Mhm.
So that's why when we were talking, I said it needs to move to 154. Number one, 154 will be more nimble. Number two,
Mhm.
this needs to be tied to building permits and land disturbance. It
Right.
can be discussed during moving lot lines, but that isn't when you cut a tree. It's when you go back and get a building permit. And I think that was a aha moment for me, because when I was on the planning commission, they had just finished with the Little Woking subdivision. And one of our planning commissioners, Ken, rode his bike up there every day to watch progress. And he said, we spent 2 months talking about the landscape, you know, the tree coverage on that project.
Mhm.
And the first permit, clear cut the first lot. And he's like, and the city administrator at the time goes, it doesn't come up when you pull the permit. And so there was a disconnect there. And so it's easy to say, there it is when you're mapping it. It's really about when you pull a permit, what should be, you know, I want to protect, like Duke said, property lines around the boundary. So you've got woods around your lot, your neighbor can do what they want, but you still see trees when you look out the back door. And
Right. Well, I like some of the language in ordinance number 154. And, you know, a lot of the comments that we got from the public were related to this tree coverage
Right.
map and its application therefore. So
Right.
obviously, I would like to see that.
Bring it back and put it in there.
I would like to see that addressed here.
Yeah, me
And then
too.
the second thing, we can talk about it a lot, and that's this high water line.
Yes.
I'd like to see us use an average water line,
Okay,
or use something that, you know, Duke's over there saying, I'd like to be able to do something on my property, but I don't want somebody else coming in and say, well, the high water line was up here, so therefore you can't.
okay, pause right there.
I don't want to pause yet.
Okay.
So there's that particular issue, and I don't think that the high water line vocabulary suits us very well, and I don't think each person that has that particular issue should run to the city and get a variance. So if
We
used-
don't grant variances to that.
I understand, but if we had a variable, like average water line, we might solve a whole lot of those issues. And so that's something I'd like to see us discuss together.
Okay, well, it's a regulatory term, and it defines where the private property begins. So we have to use ordinary high water because it's a legal term and it has legal connotations. So below ordinary high water, if it was, say, the lakefront, that's where this came up, that's the state water. And there are a couple of exceptions because they built a dam and raised the level, so they're private property under the lake, but that's a special case. But in general, ordinary high water, and I think I figured out the difference, I think we've discovered the problem with the map, because I went out with Rich and we looked at where his staff gauge is and the level of the lake. And it turns out if you go out right now and you look up the definition, and I prepared a little slideshow once I get the numbers, but we are basically at ordinary high water right now at Silcoos, because it's, you know, it's where the underwater vegetation ends and where the land vegetation begins, and we're right at the grass and where the trees grow. So the lake is basically at ordinary high water. He's got a staff gauge, and it's not at 12.
Well, what is it?
8.85. And, hang on, and it turns out, if you're a surveyor, this is hard to explain, but there's a 1929 datum. That was what all benchmarks were set on in 1929. This was across the country. And there's a new one in 1988 that is still just rolling out. And I have some experience here because we're working on state law in Nevada to make it the law. You must use 1988. It's taken that long to get to this point. All the old construction here, including Darlings, which goes back to, you know, the 30s, was on the 1929. This new map is on the 1988. So I called a licensed surveyor, and he said, the difference this far north, because it's basically a projection, you know, north and south. And Oregon's just about as far north as you can go in the United States, and he said it's about 3.5 feet different between the two datums, which is almost exactly the difference between where we are and the 12.
I see.
So once we get this right,
Yeah.
it is a regulatory number, and it won't be as bad as it sounds, and we will then have to just verify which benchmark are you on, which datum are you using.
Well, I'm in for that.
So,
I think that's the.
I got a licensed surveyor, I'm meeting on Saturday. We couldn't do it last weekend because I wanted to be able to answer fully. But we're gonna take some shots at the dock and the staff gauge, and then I'll fill in the blanks and I'll show you all the pictures, and it agrees with like the Army Corps method and all that. That's who sets this. If there was a
Sure. Well, I know
federal
just
project,
at my
it would go to
house,
them.
Woking Lake right now is about 14 inches below where it should be because of our lack of rain.
Yeah, Woking is lower.
Yeah, it's,
than-
I mean, I've got marks
noticed.
on my floating dock,
Right.
and I know where the water should be and where it is today. And so what I don't want to see is something that's variable. If we have good
No,
solids.
it's not, right.
If we have good solid
Once you have the
sides.
number, yeah.
Yeah, and I worry a little bit about Silcoos from the standpoint of dam management.
Yes.
Correct.
I don't
So-
want to
I was
see
gonna
people
ask.
disadvantaged because,
Silcoos does vary a lot more than
Yeah.
Woking does.
yeah, and it's a lot shallower, so,
Yes,
and it
makes
has
a big difference.
a different shoreline in a lot of places. So I would like to have us have that conversation so that that particular part of the chapter is not threatening the way it sounds in here.
Yeah.
It sounds like, oh, you're not gonna be able to do anything because,
Well, it goes hand in hand with the preserving that riparian, that state law.
Right.
It's 50 feet from ordinary high water,
get
so
it.
we have to agree on what that number is if you had to go out and verify it. And there's also a method, if you don't know the math, you go look for the plants and you put your little red flags and measure about 50 feet. So I think we'll get some clarity, and neither of our documents, the comprehensive plan says 12, but doesn't reference a datum or a benchmark or anything. So we'll solve that, I hope, on Saturday. We'll get
okay.
some
Well, I
solid
would
math.
say that if we, as a council, said we could wrap this up in a month or 6 weeks, you know, 3 meetings.
Sure.
If we could get through this, we could get this passed and get this done. But I think it would also help our citizens who have written us some letters
Yeah.
saying, you know, don't do something that is, you know,
Yeah.
and they're concerned about, of course, some of the letters I've read have indicated, well, this person did this when they weren't authorized, a staff member changed language, they shouldn't have done that. This part was taken out, there's no actionable reason or minutes that show the council acted on a deletion. Those are a lot of concerning issues, and we don't have to go back and dig all those up. But what we have to do is make sure that the code that was affected at that point is addressed by us as a group. So if somebody said something was deleted and it shouldn't have been, and it was maybe an oversight by a previous council or staff member, let's address it and say, okay, from henceforth, this is the law as we see it, notwithstanding the things that might have been done in the past. We're going to go forward and set up something new. We're not just going to, shove it under the rug and pass the ordinance and say, well, sorry, that's not going to be good enough. So that communicates to our citizens that we're listening and paying attention, and we're trying to address the issue. But let me tell you, no process is going to be perfect.
And I hope it's a two-way street,
Yeah.
because there's been a lot of conversation by the planning commission and the council that are misstated. Specific to the things deleted that weren't approved, they're not deleted. That was the recommendation. It's here for adoption. It's never been deleted.
So let's look at
It's
it.
a misnomer
Yes.
that we deleted it. It was a comment, and that's the problem with having an ordinance open for 13 years
Yeah.
at the planning commission for
Sure.
revisions. There's been hundreds and hundreds of pages of comments, but until we take action, nothing has been deleted or added. And that's part of the struggle here is there's a misunderstanding when we try to answer some of those, because I was on the planning commission for part of that, for a little piece of that time, but we're still wrestling with the same items, and we haven't deleted anything or approved anything. We're still here talking about it, so.
Yeah. So we'll solve the 154 problem and during this process.
That's on the
I think
list,
That
yeah.
will really help this ordinance
Yeah.
for us,
But that's on my list,
I
yeah.
think this would help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be satisfied, like my only concern, if we own it, we are not committing not to sending it back to planning.
That's where I'm at, yeah.
Like, we killed this in 3 or 4 meetings and we're good.
Yeah, whatever it takes to get it done.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I like Rich's suggestion of just starting on page 1. And it isn't like you have to, read every word of page 1.
Right.
It's already, we've already looked at it.
Once we get
Not a
motor,
concern.
right, a lot of people out, and nobody's got a concern with that page, or you're
Yeah.
deleting the whole thing, does anybody have a
Right.
problem with that? And
Let's just go through each individual's notes, concerns, issues with the whole thing.
Sure.
And we'll get it finalized and get it in front of us to be able to approve. I think we can do that within 2 or 3 meetings
I think
personally.
so.
Okay, and Susan sent comments earlier, correct? 'Cause she's
On
not
the
here tonight,
license
but,
chapter.
oh, on business license, not on this one. Okay,
No.
so we will get, Susan will be back this weekend, so she'll be at the next meeting. But anyway, yeah, I mean, we can, if you wanna lead that march and go page by page, and then, you have notes, and I had notes, and Melissa's got notes, when you get to that page, and say, no, now I understand better, or here's my note.
I think that's the
Bring it
best
up.
thing to do.
I do have one question for
Okay.
staff and Rapunzel. I mean, we had our attorney review and he came up with a number of changes. Did we adopt all of his suggested changes?
No, we did not, because we forwarded that on to the city council.
Okay. Did everybody read the attorney's comments?
So I did, and a lot of my things, a lot of my review that I typed up were into those,
Yeah, and
to
then
what Darla
Rapunzel's
said.
got notes in there too, so some of them, those, there are like, yes, we should change those words, and some of them are like, no, that exists, that isn't.
Well, I'm
right
just
language.
wondering if the council at this point in time felt like those should be incorporated, the changes by the attorney. Was there any objection to any of the changes he suggested?
No single reason.
I think it just as we're
I
going,
thought that's being
I
reasonable.
think we're,
I think there were a
I thought they seemed
couple
Yeah.
that Rapunzel disagreed because it's in another spot, or,
I think we should cover it as we're going page by
Yeah.
page.
Okay, all right, I just
Yeah.
wondered if we all had concurrence on that, if we could just get that in there.
As we're going page by page is where we need
I
to
agree,
address
if
it.
we're gonna do page by page.
Yeah.
All right.
I just had one question, and I wanted to give everybody else the opportunity to speak first. Because I do have a lot of concerns with the lot line adjustments in regards to, are these only going to be on new homes being built? What about our
No.
old?
A lot line
So-
adjustments, that's a survey term, yeah.
So-
If there's a cause for either an error or a change.
So if people have had their houses surveyed, and
Yeah.
we've have those surveys on hand, then those need to be adjusted before this gets adopted.
Not
No,
necessarily.
I don't think so.
I did a lot.
I have a lot of concerns with the lot line adjustments in regards to what you were saying on the building of the area, the houses to be built on the odd shaped
Oh, yeah.
properties, that one thing. And then it also in this document talks a lot about a city engineer. We don't have a city engineer.
Yeah, we do.
Who's our city engineer?
It's a consultant. So
Okay.
we've talked about that one, that it probably should say, like most areas, city administrator or designee. Because
Okay.
we have both Northwest Code that does plan review, engineering reviews, some
Okay,
survey
I
review.
didn't recall that, so then that
Yes,
would
and
explain
then,
that.
well, and some of this has happened just when we get those comments, Lila and I, you know, we go through this
So
as
just
well.
needs to say city engineer or designee.
Or city administrator or designee, because you're right, we don't, they're
Yeah.
not a full-time employee.
Correct, that's what's.
But we
just
still hire
misleading.
them. We have a consulting firm under
So,
contract, if we have a
To
need.
Melissa's point, do we have lot line adjustments that are occurring because of disputes between neighbors? Is that what we're talking about? Or are we talking about a property owner that has two pieces of property and he wishes to move 10 feet from one lot to the other? Is it, which?
I can tell you in my neighborhood,
Mhm.
there are surveys that have been completed where we have houses on other people's property lines.
Wow.
Over
That's-
property lines.
Oh boy, that's not good.
No,
Yeah.
that can always be rectified.
Adverse
That has to be.
We'll talk later about that.
Yeah. Well, I think those,
Because,
I would like to see.
no offense,
I think,
previous issues.
I was wondering if this was part of the variance process or something else, because, for example, there's a lot of setbacks in here that are like 10 feet. And, you know, another property I owned in another location, the only place that my septic field would fit was right up against my neighbor's property line. So I went to my neighbor and I said, would you mind if we had a 0 setback? And he said, not a problem at all. He signed a letter, we took it in, they approved it, and it worked for both of us. And it was a very neighborly thing to do. And so I don't see in this code right now a process of saying, well, we got this weird triangle-shaped lot, we want to build a house on it, but when you add the 10-foot setbacks on both sides, there's no buildable lot there left. So I'd like to see a process where we have
Yeah.
an easy path to a variance where we have no conflicting parties. We might have neighbors that say, yeah, well, of course, Johnny wants to build his house there, and he can't because of the way the setbacks are set up. So I don't, Rapunzel, is there something in here that lets you do that?
The variance process,
Just-
We did
Just-
actually do that.
Still
We had a
exists, yeah.
property somewhere just with up the road where two homeowners, one homeowner gave a certain amount of property to the other homeowner.
yes.
I don't know the address, which allowed them, because they did have an odd shaped location, allowed them to do something on their property.
And
So
Melissa,
that was
to
with the
your-
variance.
To your point about the surveys, I don't know how extreme it is, but there are survey markers, particularly over in this Westlake area,
Mhm.
that are very old, and some were actually determined to be incorrect. So some property lines may need to be readjusted to meet the actual markers.
Rapunzel, is there a spot in here, and I haven't seen it, where on a lot that is maybe not quite conforming, does it allow us to take a variance for a different type of a septic system that may be an above ground or a sand filter system that may allow for less room? Is that in a variance or?
No, septic, you go right to the county, and the state recognizes
Just
like
to
5
send
different
this to
systems.
the,
Yeah,
yeah.
so septic you could do, it's just building, yeah, when we talk about setbacks, we're talking about building construction, not
Yeah, where the walls of
buried
your house are.
utilities and stuff, yeah. And
But I mean,
so,
I can see lots of circumstances where a 10-foot setback is gonna be very restrictive on somebody building. And it would be nice if they could say, okay, you can go to 5 feet, or you can go to 7 feet, or whatever it is. There ought to be some process.
there is variance.
Yeah, that's where we did,
Okay.
that's where they have the right to do the
That's,
variance.
that's a good point, because we're currently at the 1 acre minimum for building lot.
Right.
That has been a number of numbers over the years, right? Westlake, some of the long-term, you know, they were platted before we were a city. There are like 5,000 or 6,000 square foot lots. There was a period there where there was a half acre minimum in the late 70s, because my whole block, that was all 5/8 of an acre, and it was minimum half acre. And currently it's 1 acre, so yeah, in current land division with 1 acre, how big of a problem could it be? But the reality is there's a lot of existing lots that are odd shapes and remnants and, that don't fit in that. So yeah, there's always a variance process, and, you know, you go through the planning commission and make an application, and tell us why, you know, is it a hardship, we approved the little landlocked one around the corner, and they did a little adjustment, and on paper, they were too small to develop, there's now a small house on the one, because it was like, if, we gotta approve something, otherwise it's just a piece of dirt nobody can touch.
Right.
And it was up for sale, and it got sold, and there's now that little house on top of the hill, so, you know, I think it worked out to the benefit of everybody. It didn't hurt anybody, the neighbor made a deal with them and sold, I think it was 10 feet, and made an adjustment, so. So I think that process exists.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But I mean, this chapter covers a lot, right? It covers the typicals and the minimums, and then you got all the variances and all the oddballs, gotta somehow fit in there. And I think that, Jack, you brought up a good point. It's not always easy, right? Sometimes there are weird shaped plots and leftovers, and you're trying to turn dreams into reality. That's a hard job.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
And the county, doing that with the county is really tough, just like I put in a plot today for a small lot in the county over by North Jetty, and it's like, we tried to do every septic system we could to make it fit. I mean, you wanted a garage over here, and it just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So we had to flip the garage, and he wasn't happy, but that's the only way to do it,
Right.
because the lot was small.
Will the county approve an incinerator toilet?
Never done that, so I don't know.
No. They don't take up any footprint. Use a lot of energy.
I don't think they're gonna approve that.
It's maybe a tough sell, but.
I used one in a cabin.
Yeah,
They're propane.
yeah.
I don't think that.
Probably don't smell good.
I didn't live there.
All right, so if you want to, I mean, it's 6:52.
Well, I'd like to see us continue this, and hopefully Susan will be back.
Okay,
And I'd
and
like
then
to see us
start
move
on page
to
one?
that. And, well, yeah, we'll start on page 1 at our next meeting.
Okay.
But we can move on to the business code that we have to do this evening.
I was going to say, we have a couple of
Yeah.
things we could discuss.
Right,
Now,
we do that.
we've got one other yellow card to talk about ordinance 275 from Geneva. So we can take a comment tonight, but this is going to be an ongoing. So you can comment tonight, you'll have more opportunities. So I'll give that to you.
I'll go ahead and read this for the,
Okay, go ahead.
the people out there. And maybe, I'm really concerned about the second part of it. I continue to advise the council to vote against the adoption of ordinance 275. The ordinance is poorly written, and as numerous citizens, including lawyers, have indicated at recent planning commission meetings, includes wording and provisions that may pose legal problems. Again, 155 is a flawed document that is out of compliance with stated city policies as well as city's 2020 strategic plan. As noted previously, one of the most important problems with ordinance 275 for me is its weakening of protections for the city's trees and environment. Several sections of the current comprehensive plan that attempt to protect the environment have been deleted in 275. This is the case regarding 1554.3 and section 1554.5. The city once required that building plans call out the size and number of trees in a tree coverage map. The city now merely asks developers to provide plans that display an efficient use of natural and development resources. The Planning Commission chairperson as well as the mayor both indicated that tree coverage map requirements were dropped from the development code in 2011. The results of a recent public record request states otherwise. In regards to your request of any and all official documentation reflecting actions taken by the elected city council in the form of resolutions pertaining to tree coverage maps, there were none. The proposed language was changed in chapter 155, has not been adopted, so no action was taken. When the topic of tree coverage maps was discussed at the March 18th meeting, councilors expressed an interest in the city protecting trees, but were advised that it was important to adopt 275 as it is now, and that a separate tree ordinance could be passed in the future. The current Dune City tree removal permit was updated in 2012. My question for the council is how many trees have been removed due to this misunderstanding requiring tree coverage maps and the Dune City's comprehensive plan and city code? So I'm hoping we'll take the time, as you are suggesting tonight, and do it right. As stated in previous correspondence, what is the hurry? I have heard that there are at least 2 very large developments currently in the works within the city, one of which has nearly 30 houses. Is this why the city needs to pass an ordinance with no tree city map, no tree map requirements? I hope not, guys. You're willing to work on this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd like to see the community that was, my aunt lived on Huckleberry Lane, and that's where this development is going to happen. And there's a lot of trees there, and I'd hate to see them gone.
Sure.
Okay.
Agreed. So I want to answer a couple of those comments. I didn't say it was deleted. I said it wasn't deleted. Nothing's been deleted. These were all recommendations over time. And I wasn't here in 2011 or 2012 when the tree removal
I was
form
told that I
was
was told that
adopted,
at
but-
planning that was a
Okay.
deal.
More important note, it's been brought to our attention, the attorney, the so-called attorney in the planning commission was not an attorney. They're a planner, and they stated that they were an attorney, and there's some awkwardness there. They were evidently to be disbarred, so they gave up their law license to avoid that ugly process, but have caused some confusion because that's been repeated at every meeting since, that the attorney said you can't do that. That is not a licensed attorney. We have a licensed attorney that's reviewed this, and I assure you we are not proceeding without legal review and a planner, and our planner is on the online right now. Oh, and we have a hand raised. Was that another public comment or a hand raise?
Yeah, Jonathan.
Yeah, Jonathan, did you have a comment?
Okay, go ahead, Jonathan. Yeah, but we'll follow up on it.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thanks for giving me a chance to comment. I'm bought some land up near the boat put in on Wohink Lake, and we intend on building fairly soon. And so I've been going over the code a bit. I guess I have a few comments on the vegetation removal permit. I used it because we did some vegetation removal, but I think it's good for everyone to keep in context that that only applies to 50 feet from water. 100 feet away from water, I can cut all 50 of them down. So yeah, just so people don't feel overly reassured by the vegetation removal process. It doesn't keep people from clear cutting. I sent in an email and you guys reviewed it a while ago, and I really appreciated how you guys incorporated the idea of a hammerhead turnaround as opposed to just a cul-de-sac, because in the Lane County Road Development Code, there's a lot of good detail in there, and that was sort of the bulk of what I was wanting to emphasize in my email is I think that our access and circulation section is really lacking a lot. And I think it's really valuable to look at both the rural local road standards and the private road standards in the Lane County road standards. And I gave you like page numbers and a bunch of stuff for that section, because it's really detailed. I actually think it's done quite well. I in personal opinion, I think we shouldn't make the maximum number of private of lots on a private road maximum of 4. I personally think, unless you guys know more than me, I don't think it's beneficial to put that standard on there. But I also feel like because the Lane County code does not put that standard on there, but they actually go in greater detail on based on traffic volumes and width and size and paved versus not paved. So I really think you guys would benefit a lot from reviewing their rules a bit more, because I mean, we're part of Lane County, and I think the work's been done. I did have other comments on the open space overlay and the dock. It sounded like the planning department wanted to stick with the 144 square foot maximum. I really, really appreciated Mr. Farnsworth's comments. The YouTube just popped up yesterday, so I watched it last night, but that the Fish and Wildlife guidelines are guidelines, not required standards. Dune City should not feel required to mandate Fish and Wildlife guidelines. I think it's really important for you all to keep in mind that those Fish and Wildlife guidelines were active when we put in our dock, which our total square footage of our dock came in at, I think, 396 square feet. And it took us 2 years of negotiating with Department of State Lands. But I'm delighted to actually have a U-shaped dock for our boat as opposed to one straight 6 foot wide section. Department of State Lands has a ton of opinions and restrictions, and I just don't think Dune City should cap it at 144 square feet. But that's just my opinion. You guys can have your own. You guys are elected, I'm not. The main comment I had was, I'm pretty confident that 2/3 or more of all docks on Wohink Lake, which is where we go boating and playing on a lot, are in excess of this standard. And I asked the question, well, if someone wants to repair their dock, I know the code says that if more than 75% needs to be repaired, you have to get another permit. And the Planning Commission's response was, well, no, it's pretty clear that the way we've always done it is, if you're just repairing what you have, it was already permitted. You can rebuild what you have. But the code doesn't say that at all. That's just sort of what people remember. In my opinion, it should say that somewhere, because when we started the process of trying to build a boat dock, I was told I couldn't build a boat dock until I could build a house. And that was a misinterpretation of a former employee. And they only figured that out when I said, please cite where the code says what you're telling me. And we were able to realize how much they were confused. So if we're assuming people should be able to rebuild their dock back to the way it's been built, but the code doesn't say anything about you can do that, and most of the docks are bigger than 144 square feet, I really think you guys should have at least some language. One sentence, you can rebuild your dock back to the size that you had. Just something like that, so that future people running this city don't sort of go a different direction from what was stated in the last planning meeting. I have only one more comment. I'm sorry, I haven't been looking at the time, so I apologize if I'm going over. But on page, and I tried downloading the Word document, but it doesn't download. So I might be referring to a slightly different version, because I have a PDF, but on page, let's see, page 94 of the access and circulation, none of my previous comments were drawn to this because it happened at the most recent Planning Commission meeting, where street access on number 4, it says existing non-conforming accesses and parking lots shall be brought into conformance when expanded or redeveloped more than 75%. The Planning Commission, everyone went around saying, I don't know what that means. Okay, let's delete it. And that was the only stated thought behind why that shouldn't be there. No one knows what it is, so delete it. And so I actually came on Zoom and said, hey guys, actually, I value that being there, and we can talk about it more. And I seemed like I was a little more of a nuisance, but in my opinion, I do value that being in the code, and I do think it would be better for more deliberation than, I don't know why it's there, let's delete it. So that's my other comment on that, and I would appreciate that being left in code.
Jonathan, did you guys find?
No, because that was before. All of his comments were before.
Oh, okay, so it's a different page number.
All right, I don't know
he's
that. I'm sorry, I
referring
thought
to.
you were talking about what his.
No,
comments
the number 4,
So 94, on page 94, it says J Street Access. And then there's numbers 1 through 4. It was the very last one that says existing non-conforming access and parking lots shall be brought into conformance when expanded or redeveloped more than 75%.
Gotcha. Okay, now I know what you're talking about.
Mayor, may I make a suggestion? We have a number of people who are talking about different aspects of the code, and there's some of these letters that go back and say this happened, and this happened, and this didn't happen, and this happened. What I'd really like to see is letters that say, here's what we'd like to see.
Right.
Just send a positive letter that says, these are the changes we'd like to see, or we'd like to see this section put back in, or we'd like better language. If that could be sent to us, that would be another resource we could use to,
Right. And I think the summary, I mean, the thing where someone has said, why did we delete this, or can you add this?
Right.
Those kind of things end up in the summaries and that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
some of them are, it's a little messy or it's not accurate. Yeah, I know, that's why we're here. I mean, it's not adopted, we're trying to fix
Yeah.
those, but it will be adopted if most of us have anything to do with it.
Right. I just don't care about the history.
Yeah,
I want to know what we can do in the next 3 or 4 meetings to just.
Right, with what's in front of us,
Right.
because I can't unravel some of this stuff that happened in the previous 13 years.
For example, if you want a particular section on whatever,
Right,
present some
Exactly.
language or some ideas. And
I agree.
we can go.
I agree fully.
Yeah.
Could I make one more comment?
Is that you, Jonathan?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I don't want to waste you guys' time, but if you guys are truly thinking that you want to spend, another 2 to 4 meetings working through stuff, it might be better if you guys sort of restructure when our public comment time's allowed and almost like chunk it into sections. So then, because I'd be more than happy to hold my tongue for access and circulation until all of you guys are thinking about it. But right now, the way you guys ask for public comment, I'm sort of jumping all over because I'm only given a certain amount of time. So either way, just a thought.
Okay,
That's a good idea.
thank you. And we have Henry with his hand raised?
He posted a comment. Henry, did you want to speak to that comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Henry.
The comment I posted, I mean, it's kind of dated now, but there's talk about the city engineer. That
Yeah.
is Dyer Partnership. And then I copy and pasted the section that you were just referring to, J4, the existing non-conforming accesses. I put that into the chat.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we do, the consulting firm has changed over the years, so we weren't gonna put a name in the code, obviously. Other places this has come up, we put city administrator or assignee or designee or something like that, because
Yeah, and that's fine.
positions that are hired out, and it changes from time to time. Thanks. Okay, so, any other public comment on where we're at right now on the ordinance? Let me go with Jack first.
I still don't like the land acquired by the city purpose of providing services for all kind of, for the residents of the city is specifically excluded, exempt from compliance with the development requirements.
And we had the same, our attorney, not all lands are, so, sorry, that's gonna be revised.
That's what it says.
Yeah, that's the draft that's out there for comment, and that was one of the comments we had, so we haven't got back to that, but we are, yeah, they're not.
I'm just saying if it's good for you, it should, or
You're
good
right.
for me,
No,
it should be good for you.
No, sometimes it's good to work for the government. I appreciate that. Did you have the same comment?
I just want to say, after listening to you all are very much in agreement that this is a mess and it needs a lot of work, and that's what we all feel. And I still don't understand what the urgency is, Mr. Mayor, because you yourself said, when I first met you, before you even became mayor, I met you at a planning commission meeting, we had a talk before you became mayor, and I told you about the things that really concern me. And this ordinance, which has had various different names, it's changed since then, you said, yes, it is massive, it should be broken down and done in increments, a little bit at a time. I couldn't agree with you more, so why were you trying to slam it all through at once again?
Because it didn't work out. It didn't work out. We had that conversation at the planning commission because there's references in the first chapter to the second and third chapter. And so if we thought we finished with chapter 1, by the time you get to chapter 3, you gotta go back to chapter 1.
But obviously
So,
you went to college to be an engineer, you're an educated man, I'm an educated woman, and I would never turn in a term project or term paper saying, well, I know it's got a lot of problems, but I'll fix it later. No. And if you're going to pass it,
we're not doing that.
pass good legislation.
We're not rushing anywhere.
Okay.
This is the third meeting in a row, right?
I also, something that's more poignant and really concerning.
We're 6 hours into this.
I've asked and asked to see the last meeting, and Lila didn't have it ready. She said Chris didn't have it ready, various different reasons why it wasn't ready. It wasn't printed till like 14 hours before I'm on my way here. How can I possibly respond to that in a letter a day in advance when you wouldn't even let me see it again? That, I am a careful student. I value everything you say and everything the people who come say, and I use that as a learning tool. I want to review it, so I make sure I get quotes right from you, from us, and it's really important. I don't know why it's taken days to get things approved and why you need to approve something. Alan Campbell had it printed the next day. It was right out there because you don't have to change the truth. What are you, abridging it or changing things? Why are you doing this?
Can I speak to that real quick? Are you talking about the video from the last meeting? Our family took a much needed vacation and we got back on Sunday. So we needed a time, like a day, to process the video and post.
Well, everybody's been on vacation for a long time. Of course you deserve a vacation.
Thank you.
But, you know, it's
Okay.
important that
Thanks.
people get to see the movies.
Point taken. One of these days we'll raise taxes and we'll hire another body to manage our videos and our audio locations. So with that, I'm going to close the public hearing and continue this item to the next meeting, and we will continue to work on this ordinance.
Do you need a motion for that?
No.
To continue?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh,
Do we-
I'm closing the meeting, sorry. That's what I was talking about.
Well, we're closing this hearing for now. We're continuing and we'll reopen. So does
Well,
that?
okay, let me step in here. So we should be straight and clear whether or not you're continuing the hearing or closing it. So if you are in fact closing the hearing, that means no more public comment is permitted.
Continuing the hearing.
If you're continuing the hearing, that means you're gonna do this again and you're gonna ask for comment again.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, we are.
affirmative. So we won't end the hearing. We will stop talking about it right now and continue this item because we're going to talk about our business license chapter for a minute.
Okay, so you're continuing the hearing, the record is still open. People have opportunity to submit written and oral comment at the next meeting.
Yes.
Correct, okay.
I would like
And
to,
you need to state the date now of the next meeting when you're gonna hold that hearing.
April 15th, to be continued at date specific, April 15th, 6 p.m.
Tax day.
Oh, sorry. Well, today's April Fool's, so we're gonna,
That's a month.
it's a good time to have meetings.
Okay, April 15th, 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Normal council meeting, yeah, we won't be on this item at 6 p.m., but yes, it'll be on the regular city council meeting at 6 p.m. on the 15th of April. Continue to the 15th. All right, is that good, Henry?
Yes, that's clear. Everyone in attendance and online, this is their notice for the next hearing. There's no remailing of anything. This is the notice.
Correct.
And may I ask, when will the next meeting be after that? What date will that be?
And it goes
May-
to May 6th.
May 6th, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then May 20th.
Mayor, I'd like to just make a clarification what we're going to do at the next meeting. We're going to follow Councilor Olson's idea of starting at page 1.
We'll do the page by
Read through all
page.
of our memorandums, all of our stuff.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go through that
If there's a
page
note
by
you want to
page.
talk about or a comment, yes, we'll
And when
bring
we're
them
done
up.
with that, we're going to be prepared to pass this.
I think so.
Yeah.
And as, along the way, we'll take additional public comment
Sure,
as we
yeah.
adjust, if we
But-
change it.
But our plan is to start at page 1 and
Yes.
just go through this
Yes.
and clean it up in one page at a time.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, everybody good?
Yep.
Okay, item 10, business license chapter. We continued this from 4 meetings ago. After looking at examples of other communities of similar size business license chapter, we couldn't find a better example, so we came back to, we'll revise ours. One of the items that is very confusing, in the first page or so, it kind of outlines that everybody needs a business license that has any sort of business interest, meaning anybody that makes $1 in Dune City needs a business license, and then about 2 pages later it says, except it only applies to contractors, tree trimming, landscaping. So we want to either strike one or the other to clarify and then list those areas. The reason this came up, one of our staff said it's hard to keep track. Maybe we could license everybody. I disagree with that because I don't know that there's any value added to licensing everybody. I think historically we've licensed what I would call high-risk types of work. Anything that requires a contractor's license to keep non-contractors honest. There's a carve-out for handyman, which is very specific under state law. I think most people that say they're a handyman violate it. And then individual trades have come up. What about painters? That's a contractor's license. You know, what about roofers? That's a contractor's license. But a couple of things came up that aren't. People that do pressure washing, if they go on your roof, I want them to have a license because we verify they have liability insurance. And anywhere where either they're gonna get hurt or they're gonna damage your property, if it requires a boom lift, a big ladder, climbing on the roof, things like that, rain gutters, cleaning roofs, and window washing came up. Because that doesn't require any sort of contractor's license, but often has either a lift or a big ladder.
Well, they're up on the roof to do the upper windows, so there's.
Right, or they're
Yeah.
big extension ladders, and somebody's in harm's way there.
So Mayor, are you suggesting we have a list of these?
Well, we have a couple right now in the ordinance,
Right.
and that was my suggestion, is if we want to fix those, just add those types, instead of
Yes.
saying all. And then if there's something else you could think of, you know, we'll throw it out there for adding.
Yeah. So on the pages here, you're talking about,
Let me get to that.
which paragraph?
Then,
Well, what he was specifically talking about is page 13, businesses affected,
Okay, so page 13.
120.70.
Okay. So you've got window washers, pressure washers. It looks like you need to add your window cleaners to that.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
Like fundamentally, do we all agree why we have business licenses?
Yeah.
Because if we're gonna force people to apply for something and pay money, like what is the return on that?
right.
Why are we making them do that? Is it just because we don't like businesses and we want money to be difficult? Obviously not. So like, what is the reason that we're pushing people to do this? And I agree that it's only so that we can validate that they are in compliance with insurance or in risk. That right away takes care of a bunch of people's concerns of like, well, I want to have a lemonade stand. We don't care. You're not somebody that we're worried about having liability insurance.
Well,
and
and
putting community
one that's
risk.
very common is working from home. Part-time, full-time.
You're selling eBay stuff.
Yeah, well, I work in another state online, part-time.
Yeah.
So if you want me to buy a license, I'll buy one, and I think government entities are exempt, but, you know, I'll buy one if I need to. But yeah, I don't generate any waste, I have no visitors, no one comes to my house for anything. So that's one that some cities say everybody gets a home occupancy and has to pay $50 just to have your name on the list. I'm with you, there's no value added, we don't do anything.
Yeah, if our intent is just to make sure that these contractors and people who are gonna be in our community are complying with the laws, basically as a check, like, obviously we want the residents, it'd be great if the residents did their due diligence research. They don't, nobody does, so that's fine. So we're kind of doing that homework for them.
Helping.
Yeah.
And our code enforcement guy is the one that brought it up, he's like, I'm driving around, I see this truck and a trailer with a big magnet, and I stop and I go, what are you guys doing? And they go, we're just, I think we got a license, and it's somewhere else. And then they're not a contractor, and they don't have a business license here, and he's like, you got insurance? They have automobile insurance, that's all they have. They go, yeah, we're insured. And then all they've got is insurance to drive their car on the road, and so they're bringing in, you know, a big ladder or a pressure washer or doing whatever. So, yeah, those are the ones that he keeps getting, you know, he spots them or he gets a call from somebody, you know, what's this guy doing on the roof over there?
So, are we all on the same page with
I
that?
think we are.
You got any other comments? I mean, does that make sense to you, Rich? The high-risk industry? Because your concern was like, we're not getting into alcohol, tobacco, septic inspections, we're not, there's no overlap with existing things that the county or the state do. Like restaurant inspections and that sort of thing. We don't want any part of that. We don't have any expertise.
So,
That's all I'm saying, is if I'm paying a state license or a county license.
Yeah, and you get an inspection from them.
And, you know, I shouldn't be required to have a city business license when I'm already paying for those licenses, those inspections and those things of that nature. Now, if I wasn't, I would agree with the fact that then they should.
so let's say that you're a Boy Scout and I hire you to mow my grass.
That's a risky proposition.
Oh, you
I
think?
know a lot of Boy Scouts.
Well,
No, but that doesn't
I mean-
require a business license.
I mean, a few years ago, I'll make it more personal, I met a disabled veteran who was homeless, and I hired him,
Mhm.
you know, to do little things for me, just to, you know, he wasn't eating, he needed money.
Yeah.
And he wasn't the kind of guy who would stand on a corner with a piece of cardboard. So if I hire somebody to come to my house and cut my grass and help me with my own tools, you know, and that sort of thing, do I need a business license? Does he need a business license? I mean, it's not landscaping in the context of putting in sprinkler systems or building block walls or grading with a bobcat or something like. We're talking about, you know, somebody who comes over and just does basic yard maintenance. I don't think that's required to the landscapers.
Well, and I think in your example, you have no expectation that he has liability insurance and a business license or a contractor's license because you're hiring him to do odd jobs.
And that's why
I think I'm perfectly fine with that. I mean,
yeah, well, I mean, if it's a Boy Scout that comes over, or it's a veteran or somebody like that, as long as we're not putting ourselves out there as a business, oh, here, you can hire my employee, he can do your yard.
if you start subbing them out and collecting,
But I mean, you can
big
think
money.
about, there's housekeepers that come into our community.
you know.
There's childcare, there's, you know, people who are coming to our home for whatever reason. I don't want us to second guess something that's very low risk and is not actually put out into the public for sale or for contract. You know, not offering a service and advertising it on Facebook or anything like that. But I don't think, like, you know, you're working from home. I think there's a lot of things that could be exceptions. So to Chris's point, we're trying to do it for the health and safety of our residents.
That was my
And I like this language in paragraph A, high-risk businesses, forklifts, ladders, handyman, window washers, pressure washers. Or are you saying that we would get rid of the exemptions, or would we just list the exemptions to give more clarity?
I think we were just talking about listing the ones that require it, instead of, the first part said everybody, and then the second part said these people, and it's confusing, you know, when you start reading it.
What does Igor need? What was he saying?
Well, he was looking for some clarity, because when he sees somebody, and there's a truck and a trailer and a magnet, his assumption was, should they have a business license? And then it turns out there's a lot of things that didn't, so part of this was add some of them, but yeah, if they say, no, I have a magnet on my truck, but I'm just visiting Larry, I mean, you know, you don't need any.
You're saying magnet sign.
Yeah, somebody with a sign, they have a logo, they have whatever, because if you do have a contractor's license, correct me if I'm wrong, if you have any sort of advertising, like, you know, Bob the Builder, you have to have something that says, you know, license
Your
number or
CC
license.
license,
Yeah, so there are categories, like contractors they regulate that, because there's so many people driving around with a hammer and a screwdriver going, I'm pretty much a contractor. I know a guy who knows a guy that can fix your water heater, you know, and then they let the smoke out of the electronics and leave. And so, we're trying to avoid that, you know, those things get damaged when they're done wrong, and they should have liability insurance and a license, so.
Okay, so based
So
on.
we're thinking just making that, if it's gonna be a short list, let's just make the list and say, these are the people that need a business license.
It looks like we've done that.
Well, I think that was our draft.
Yeah, this is
right?
our
We had
draft.
comments.
So these are comments, or these are things, revisions that, council, like Susan had made, and then,
Yeah.
some things that, yeah, this is our draft. It's also to be consistent, because we did have one window washer that was willing to get a license and one that was not, and they basically said, where in code does it say that? Well, it doesn't, because they're not in here.
Right.
So, again, this was more or less to be consistent too.
Is there anything else you can think of, Lila, that would be on this page that's come up with Igor, or?
Not that I can think of, we've discussed it quite a few times.
So if you're cutting trees down, that's definitely a business license, right?
Mhm.
We've had that happen, we've had people come in from
Yeah.
out of town to cut trees and they weren't licensed. And, of course, all the plumbers and the trades, they're licensed.
Yep.
Painters, licensed.
There's contractors.
Yeah,
Roofers,
and then,
So I guess, one question would be, does this include the contractors that are working for the power company?
Our agreement with the power company is a little different.
Because they're all over the city right now,
Yeah, they are.
Yes,
so.
well, what's the name, what's the name?
I mean,
of that?
they've got a license and they're contracted by the power company.
Yeah,
And we have a agreement with the power company that they can do maintenance and service and things of that
but
nature.
it's Wright Tree Service, and
Yeah,
then Wright got a
and they-
business license here? Yeah, so, that one's already covered.
I
Usually when you have a franchise agreement, yeah, you say because they've got their own due diligence, and sometimes they have a corporate gig that, you know, they only use a certain guy, but,
you know, what if you are a fisherman, what if you're an outfitter who takes people out on silk creeks to go fishing?
outside the city limits, yeah, you're on state water.
Okay, but I mean, let's say you go on boating.
Same,
Okay, so the fact that you depart from a dock in the city doesn't change. I mean, I'm just asking for.
yeah, I don't know.
I'm just saying, if you're out on a boat, and we hope that person has life jackets and all that sort of thing, it's not really our job to monitor that,
Yeah.
but, you know, that's a type of business that does occur in our city.
Yeah, but it is regulated already, right? Coast Guard and the state, there's a laundry list to operating
Sure,
a
but
boat.
it's not a business under this,
Right.
would require a license.
Right.
Okay. All right,
Yeah, I don't think so.
all right.
I mean, I don't think we've ever had a complaint to that effect either, and anytime something comes up on the lake, we're told, city doesn't have any jurisdiction anyway, that's the state, you know, call the state, and they do send their ranger boat down here. The sheriff's office actually has a ranger boat, or whatever you want to call it, you know, law enforcement boat, they were here
Yeah.
4th of July last year.
Well, if I I'm a flight instructor, if
Yeah.
I was giving flying lessons and advertising that in Florence, I would have to have a business
Right,
license.
'cause I think they have a license for everything.
Yes, they do. And if I land at Silky's Lake while teaching a flying lesson, I don't need a license.
That's why you like Dune City, right?
That's right. I don't teach flying lessons, so.
And if we start having a lot of plane crashes, we're gonna revisit this.
Of course. So I'm just
I
trying to
hope you're
think.
here to have that conversation with us.
Right, so I'm just trying to think of any
Yeah.
other circumstance. It sounds like we've got this ready to go.
Those were the ones that kept coming up, right, and so that's why I thought if we could work this one in, and, any other comments down here? You got any other?
No, Jack had a comment, I think.
No.
Well, we got a couple of council.
Okay.
Anything you wanna add, Melissa, or do?
No.
We're gonna sway.
I think that one was answered on page. On page 11 of 14 on the fee term,
On the what term? On the what?
on 120.50 fee term,
Oh,
which is the
gotcha.
bottom of 11 of
Yes.
14. I thought about something about requirements also being met, because it says no licensure will be issued or renewed until fees are fully paid. What about the requirements? Do we need to put something like that there?
As far as,
Like if they, I kind of and maybe it's just me overthinking it in regards to like the short-term rentals. Putting out those applications and granting them before we had the septic systems back.
right. Well, I
So
think
am I
on
maybe
business
overthinking
licensing,
it?
you don't get to the fee if you haven't given us liability insurance, and if it, say in the case of a contractor, if you couldn't produce all the info, you wouldn't even get to this step. I don't know.
Right, are you talking about a renewal?
Yeah,
Yeah, just anything, if we're at the fee point of an initial application or
but you're right,
renewal.
once somebody pays the fee, they think they're good, and,
Right.
but you would, in this case, this is a lot simpler. It's
The
show
form
me your
actually
license
has
Requirements are already.
They
Show me
can
your
fill that
insurance
out
checked, right?
in order
Okay,
to
so
get,
we don't-
to get to
yes.
that step, yeah, no, you're right, that's a good question.
And then,
I'll never say you're overthinking.
well, that's just me, that's what I do.
Yeah.
And then on section 120.55, which is page 12 of 14,
Yep,
section C on there, this is a person whose application for a business license has been denied or whose license has been revoked may reapply for a licensure after 90 days from the date of denial or revocation, but the application fee will be doubled for the issue of usual fee. Now, the only reason I could think of we would maybe want to give somebody a licensure again after we revoked it would be maybe because of some failure to, you know, apply or renew on time, but any other thing, why would we would want to give a licensure to somebody we've had to revoke their license?
If their insurance lapsed and they had to go out and get new insurance.
no, but I get your question, so that one makes sense, but what if it was because
Failure for something.
they did something terrible,
terrible.
and we took their license away? Are we just
Yeah.
gonna give them one in 90 days if they pay
See,
an
I just,
extra
I don't feel
$125?
comfortable with that, I'm like,
Like
well,
they
we
dropped a
revoked,
tree on the
yeah,
neighbor's
we
house.
revoked your license for this significant issue. You come back in 90 days, we'll give it back to you.
Right.
But if they have to give it back to them. Like, they can reapply in 90 days, and we will deny you in 90 days.
It says you can reapply, it doesn't say
Right,
it's gonna.
doesn't guarantee you get the license, that's a good
Okay.
point.
Yeah.
Okay,
You comfortable with that?
again, I'm just,
Okay.
you know, rethinking this late at night, when I
No,
don't
good
sleep at 3
question.
o'clock in the morning.
Well, and I should tell you too that the highlighted,
Well, a lot of these reviews were at 3 o'clock, I apologize.
the highlighted version were things that Susan was questioning, like, do we need this in there? So that's what the
Gotcha.
highlight is.
Yeah, I didn't have those glowing highlighted, like, I'm looking at it, goes, why do you guys got all these yellow sections?
Yeah,
And I'm like,
so
where's my
in the
yellow
packet today,
section?
it had Susan's comments were highlights, so.
So,
I thought they
I was all
did it just
looking at it
for
going,
me.
I was, I kept looking at his, and I'm like, yellow and yellow, and like,
Oh, and there you go, and on the next
maybe they
page,
did something.
and yours probably isn't bright
Yeah,
yellow,
no.
but on 13, it's got an appeal. If it was denied, you appeal to us, so you'll get to talk about it. And they'll have to answer your questions
Yeah.
as to why, you know, was it simple lapse in insurance, or was it insurance fraud? There's a big difference there, right? There's a lot of reasons you can lose your coverage, so. Anything else? Good. No, Melissa, okay. So, is it that simple?
Yes,
We're
that's
gonna-
simple, what do we have to do to make this law?
You motion to accept those revisions as discussed and identified, and somebody seconds it?
I'll make the motion.
Hang on, I gotta get back to the agenda so I can keep track. You move fast down there. Okay, we have a motion to approve the business license chapter with these proposed revisions,
Second.
and a second by Duke. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. All right, that's exciting. And we had, for the good of the order, I had a couple of notes I wanted to talk to you guys about. I have so much stuff and I can't keep track of my own notes. I left it at home on the kitchen table. So, from a priority perspective, we continue to chip away at the land use ordinance. So that's at the top of my list. Number 2 we just did, which was business license. So that's great. So number 3, we talked about, we had a lot of comments on short-term rentals. And we heard some good comments, and we talked about revisiting that. So we've got short-term rental, and the 154, the tree And then we had a request, a great request for a fireworks ordinance. We're collecting info, so there's a lot of small towns that have a very simple, we don't allow it in other than professional displays for 4th of July, New Year's, or a recognized holiday, right? You tell the city you need a permitted event. So that could be a really simple one, and it needs to be, if it's gonna be useful this year, it needs to be done before, say, June, when they go for sale in Lane County. And the other one that's on, is the budget, which has to be approved by June, and we've had the budget meeting, and so it will be one of these meetings where we're probably talking about land use, and we're just gonna have to carve out, well, we'll do it first, so we'll get through the budget, the review and adoption. I think that will be relatively painless because we've all seen it. And then, so does anybody have a problem with, where do you want to fit in and which one do you want first? The tree coverage, which could be relatively simple, but every time I say that, it takes 2 meetings. Or,
I think tree
Budget
coverage.
will be next.
budget's easy, okay, so
Yeah,
next will
budget
be
is on the
budget.
15th, I've already posted
Okay,
that, so.
and that one required additional posting, so we have a date for that, so you're gonna see budget at the next meeting. And then, do you wanna see fireworks next, tree coverage next, or short-term rental next, which will not be a 15-minute meeting? I promise you that.
I guess I'd like to see tree coverage and fireworks.
In that order? Okay, because once we talk about tree coverage, we can stop talking about it over here.
Right, exactly.
I like that, so I'll put that. Because we do this every week to figure out what's the next agenda and what do we gotta put together for backup and that sort of thing. So that's the 155 erosion and landscape and, right, or 154.
Chapter 1.
Okay, and then next would be fireworks?
Yep.
And we could put both of those on an agenda, because if you don't get to one, it'll automatically have been posted, it'll continue. It doesn't require one of those, a postcard or a date specific like the budget does. So, and then 5th would be STR revisit. We've got lots of comments to go over. Lots of good suggestions. You had something else?
No.
Okay, so does that make sense? We'll continue with the land use. We'll get budget is next meeting. And then we'll get a we'll put the 154, chapter 154, and are we gonna, you want staff to take a stab at adding something for review, or just want to have a conversation and?
No, I want to see something.
Okay, we'll draft something, because we had some language, it just probably belongs in other places. We'll start with that, that's easy. And then same with the fireworks, we've got a couple of really simple from other communities that are based, it's easy when you just say we ban it in the city limits. And in our case, you call Lane County Sheriff and or Siuslaw Fire, so we'll have all that laid out for who you contact.
The problem's gonna be is the follow-up and the resources
I
in
know.
order to get
I know, and
this.
it falls to them, I mean, they do
That's almost
respond.
setting our sheriffs
but-
up for failure. I mean,
That's,
come on, that's not a realistic goal.
well, they won't respond if you don't have an ordinance that says it's not. Right now, it's allowed everywhere in Lane County unless it's not. And so, I share John's concerns, we got,
No, I share the concerns too, it's
You know?
just realistically.
I think I'm less concerned about trying to get the sheriff out of here than I am just having an ordinance on the books.
at least you can point to it.
Yeah.
And that way our neighborhoods can be,
Right, a little
say, hey
vigilant.
folks, did you hear this new
Yeah.
ordinance? You can't do that, go to the beach or something.
Right.
Go
Right.
somewhere else.
Go outside city limits.
Our forest is really dry, let's go somewhere
Yeah.
else.
No, I completely get
Yeah.
it, and I agree, I'm not disagreeing.
I
in any
came
way,
from a
it's just-
city that had 2,000 police officers and they couldn't keep up on
No,
4th of July. I get it.
I'm not disagreeing in any way, shape,
We
or
also
form.
didn't have any bushes you could light on fire.
I do know
They're
that.
driving Utah to see a tree.
I came from California, it's all brown,
Yeah.
I totally get it.
I do know that, no fireworks are permitted anywhere in Lane County that are not safe and sane.
Right,
And if there's
Yeah,
people
there's
that
lots
are
of
lighting
illegal
that
ones
stuff
that
off,
show up.
you can call the fire department. The fire department has a guy that'll come out and he can write them a ticket right on the spot.
Right.
So, I mean, there's already things in place. I'm not saying we don't need
And
it.
they do respond, but you're right, they can't be everywhere at once. But I mean,
Pre-book them for the campground across the street from my house.
oh, and that's outside the city limits too, so this won't even work.
No, it's not,
The campground?
it's in the undesignated
On the other side
area.
of 101? That's unincorporated Lane County.
Oh, well, They just send the
Sorry.
guy along with it.
Sorry to make
It's okay.
excuses, but it's not my problem. So I'll put that as priorities. And then secondly, you have a do not open envelope. It's not a Christmas card. You don't have to wait till Christmas. But we do have a ballot initiative that has been submitted, and it requires no review by the council, and it also has some statutory deadlines. So it was reviewed by our attorney. It does not violate state constitution. And what were our steps? Doesn't violate state constitution, then we respond back to the petitioner, and then we have to run a legal notice in the newspaper as soon as possible. And so that has occurred. It is on the bulletin board. It's on the bulletin board at the post office. It's now on our website. And there's a copy of the petition for you to read, to contemplate, because it's a petition for a ballot initiative. It's not for our action. So I didn't want to dominate a meeting with, what do we do? What about this? What about that? I have some notes. I've spent a lot of time in the last 3 days with our attorney on the phone. And there was HB, I think it's 4133, was approved. We can have briefings or a conversation that's not considered a serial meeting because it's not an action item for a city council. Start with me. You can ask, read this stuff. I'll come to your wherever, we'll talk on the phone, whatever you guys want to do. And then if I can't answer the question or give you, a little bit of guidance, you can also call, we'll set you up with our attorney Jim at LCOG, who drafted, he had to put together the language that would be submitted to the elections department. But anyway, that's in front of you, but not for any action, just as a heads up, and then.
Well,
we can
if we're
check.
not required to make any action, if the petitioner wants to put something on the ballot and they meet the requirements,
Right.
then it's on the ballot.
Right,
Yeah, so there's
Right.
really nothing for us to do.
right. But there'll be questions, how does this affect us? What do we do as a council? When do we start? What do we do? So
Yeah.
Jim has given me some advice, and I've got a list of notes, so.
Okay.
So
Happy
do
to
we
chat.
just send the messages directly to you, or?
Yeah, just call me if you want to talk, or you want to, email, and say, I want to talk about it on the phone, or whatever you
3
want to do.
o'clock in the morning, I can call you?
I might not answer, you can always call. Yeah, is that when you get your best work done?
Do
Pretty
these
much lately.
items not take a specific number of signatures to get them on?
Yes, so that's a separate process. So this is, first step is it does not violate the Constitution, yes, and then they have to come up with the required signatures to be verified and all that before it would appear, but yeah, so
Okay.
it's, so that process started, we're at the first step.
So it's not on the ballot?
No, the petition doesn't violate the Constitution and has been drafted, so that'll be future steps.
So if the person meets all the requirements, or persons meet all the requirements, it'll be on the ballot, we can vote on it.
Yes, and the other part of that is, I bring it up here because it's in Dune City, so people are gonna start calling. So we have a script for the staff. We don't have any comments on that. When we start getting questions, because it's not our question to answer, it's someone else's petition. And so, so from a council perspective as well, because there may be a desire, like maybe we should make a list of pros and cons or whatever. We don't spend any time or effort on that part. If someone wanted to have a neighborhood meeting, you can rent this room. We have a published rate. You could have a meeting here, you could go to Florence Event Center, you could have it in your backyard, whatever, but it won't be a council agenda item for a discussion or action or anything, to comply with the guidelines. We don't spend additional staff resources or time or effort on somebody else's ballot issue. So that was a big, for the good of the order speech, so let's start with Duke.
Let's go to there.
Yeah, good of the order.
I just hope that the citizens of Dune City appreciate, just not talking about myself, I'm talking about the council and the work, again, pretty much same thing I said last meeting, and the work the planning commission does. This is a lot of stuff, and as you can tell just by our conversation tonight, there's a lot of different input coming in. But as long as I've been on the council, and Rapunzel, she
left when we got to that.
She's been here as long as I have. I've been with 4 mayors and countless city councilors. In my opinion, this is the best council that I've ever sat with. And as far as concern goes about the citizens and stuff like that. and of course the staff.
I agree, this is a big lift, and we have gotten further into this right now than has been in forever.
Well, that I've ever known,
Right.
so.
And so, yeah, it's not easy, I mean, going page by page, what, if it takes 2, 3 more meetings, I mean, otherwise, we're just gonna be staring at something that needs revisions forever, so I totally agree. Sorry, that was your time, but I'm excited about it.
That's all.
Thank you. Melissa?
I'd just like to say thank you to everybody for, going page by page, because I think that it takes a lot out of every single one of us to do this. We all have our wants and our thoughts, and I think coming together to make it the best for what we have is what we need to do. So, I thank every one of you guys.
Rick?
I'd just like to thank all the council members for, being open and being able to discuss things and get things going in a positive direction. We all make concessions both ways.
Yeah.
And I think we've got a great council. Thank you.
Agreed. Chris?
Nothing significant to add. I agree with everything you said.
All right, thank you.
I agree with everything that's been said, and I do have this one thing I'd like to bring up.
Yes.
So, this is a flyer, I don't know where it came from.
John handed them out, that's the last name, right?
I designed, that's.
Okay, well, there's obviously some concern, and so, I went over to that area because I wasn't that familiar with it. This is Duke's neighborhood, I think. And I used to be on the Western Maine Ambulance Board, served there, and had a lot of experience with the fire department. And the way that this access is, it's a disaster from a fire response standpoint.
The current access.
The current access, yeah.
Yeah. there's
And
a lot of paths.
I went over there and I looked at Peninsula, and, there's a big canyon there, I get that. But this particular company worked with a developer in the north of Florence in the UGB, and that area also had some really high infrastructure cost to put in streets and roads and get septic approvals and that sort of thing. And they were willing to spend the money, and they had a good rate of return on their development. What they did is they put in 100 lots, and they sold them to builders in our community. They built beautiful homes. It's a nice neighborhood. So there's cost involved with putting a neighborhood together. Having looked at that canyon, I think it's viable myself to require some engineering and put in an extension on Peninsula to put a second point of egress to that community that they're putting these homes in. And yes, it's going to cost the developer some money to do that, but it's a necessary thing over there. And I'm concerned that we're just going to put all these homes at the end of a very long circuitous route, and we're letting him off easy when he should really be investing in putting in this, what I consider to be a bridge. They could fill it with sand or put some culverts in there, but they should really have a second point of access to that neighborhood. And I think it would benefit not just this planned development, but also the entire neighborhood over there would have a second point of escape, because if we get the kind of fires that have been happening in different places, you might have your only point of egress shut off and you end up running into the lake. And that's what happened in Maui, as an example. They had no point of escape. They ran into the ocean. And the same thing happened in Louisville, Colorado, where I moved from. So I don't even know where this is in the development scheme of things.
Yeah. Do you know, have they submitted anything? The developers met with Pam to start, so there isn't any refusal to do anything.
Right.
Can I see that really fast?
Sure, you certainly
I
can.
had notes. I was gonna get back to you, John.
Oh,
I actually started looking for your email this afternoon. Really quick. And we could talk about access, and it hasn't come to council for any action yet, obviously, but the riparian's 50 feet by state law and by ordinance, so that's in there. 50 feet from ordinary high water. So the drainage and runoff, agreed. They got their steep slopes. They gotta look at the drainage and the runoff. The lighting, we just added a lighting chapter last year, so I think that's covered by the development. The stuff we have now. Down facing lamps, nothing that shines off the property, that sort of thing. We have that. There should never be a 3-story home, and I think we have one, sort of, on Russell Road. I don't think that all got done just before I got here, and it's a walkout basement that's basically not really buried. Yeah. So it's 2 stories max, 27 feet, I think, by code, and so, and we're gonna look at that a lot closer, because I don't know how we ended up with the house across the street from you, like,
I was wondering a lot of.
I don't know, my neighbor was out walking my dog, and he goes, have you seen this giant house down the street under construction? It totally doesn't fit in, it's too tall. I go, what? So I rode my bike down there, and I was like, holy crap. And that's when I was on the planning commission, I came down to City Hall, and they go, no, it's approved, but they cut the roof, and they got new roof trusses, and they lowered it to exactly 27 feet. I'm like,
They never lowered
it
it.
doesn't really,
They
it
said they did.
doesn't quite work. So I share your concern, so. Yeah, and then access to water, they can't disturb all the riparian, and they are gonna have to get lake water, and they've gotta solve that, they don't have any water diversions approved or anything yet, so. I had notes, and I apologize, I didn't bring my card.
Well, my biggest thing is, I don't really, I mean, I share all his other concerns, but I
Yeah.
honestly think that this developer will not build a second access off Peninsula unless he's required to
Okay.
do so.
All right.
I think it's doable, I think if you
Well,
look.
if you look on the back,
Go on.
there's extend one to the other half road that's already half dedicated down their side.
Right.
It's easy to make a loop out of that, and then there's that little tiny loop with a missing piece. Put that in, but don't let 13 lots connect to it. I mean, I
Right.
think there could be 3 points
There could be.
of connection.
I think
and,
actually be dealing with that in this ordinance here, because there was one point that I recall seeing that anything over 4 lots requires
Yeah.
a double access, so.
It's actually on that page
And I
93.
think, was it 10 lots, we can request traffic study or circulation?
And I just know
Because
the fire.
we quite often don't, but that'd be a good one to talk about.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of homes that exist around it.
Yeah, Chief Schick is not gonna like this at all.
Right.
And so I would
And
like,
neither do the neighbors.
I would just like to ask staff to alert the planning commission of our concern.
Yeah.
We don't wanna see this rubber stamped real quickly, we wanna
I
make
agree.
sure that, I realize
That's a
it's
message?
it's an engineering problem to
Yeah.
build another extension off Peninsula.
Yeah.
And it can be done tastefully done, it can, you can preserve the vegetation around it, you can put in some culverts, keep the drainage going where it's supposed to be going, but
Yeah.
for heaven's sakes, we could regret this a
Right.
lot,
Sure. Yep.
So,
Don't subdivisions come to council for approval? We've had others come with.
I think this is a partition.
No, it's too big.
No.
It's 13 acres, so if it's more than 4 lots, yeah, it's gonna go through the whole, no, I keep pointing at Rapunzel, she's gone, but it'll go to planning commission and the city council, because yes, it'll be a PUD or something, so.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of review with this, I would think. I can't imagine.
Okay.
Buy into it.
All right. Well, these are floating around because the
Yeah.
neighbors are
Yeah.
concerned, so.
John made the copies and handed those out at the last meeting, so yeah, I had it on my kitchen table, I was making notes and I left it.
Thank you.
So, well, thank you for that, then that takes us to the bottom of the agenda, to item 12. I need a motion to adjourn unless, we're on time. So moved.
Second.
That would be Rich and Larry, all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
That's unanimous, thank you, it's 7:53.